What if the difference between a stunning industrial loft and a cold, unfinished looking room comes down to just one design decision most people never even notice? Quick favor before we start. If you love beautiful spaces, hit like right now. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and share this with someone who's redesigning their home. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Industrial design looks simple on the surface. Exposed brick, black metal, a few pipes left uncovered. So why do some industrial rooms feel expensive and intentional, while others just feel like an unfinished basement that someone gave up on halfway through? The answer isn't the materials themselves. Anyone can buy exposed brick wallpaper or hang a metal pendant light. The real answer is how these elements are combined, balanced, and restrained. Real industrial design follows a clear formula, one that's been refined over decades of turning old factories and warehouses into some of the most desirable homes in the world. Once you understand that formula, you'll never look at an industrial-inspired room the same way again. Let's go through the 10 elements that actually make this style work, and by the end, you'll know exactly what separates a space with real character from one that's just following a trend. The first element is raw brick or concrete as your base. Every great industrial space starts with an honest, unfinished surface, an exposed brick wall, a polished concrete floor, or plaster left slightly imperfect on purpose rather than sanded smooth. These surfaces do more work than any decoration ever could. They give the room age, depth, and a sense of history before you've added a single piece of furniture. This is the foundation everything else gets built on top of, and skipping it usually means the rest of the room never quite comes together. The second element is leather furniture to soften the hard edges. A worn leather sofa or a distressed leather armchair does something concrete, and steel simply cannot do on their own. It adds warmth and softness into a room otherwise dominated by hard materials. Without leather or something similar, an industrial room can feel like a garage that someone forgot to finish decorating. With it, the exact same room suddenly feels lived in, comfortable and inviting, a place you'd actually want to sit down and stay a while. The third element is showing your pipes and ductwork instead of hiding them away. Most design styles spend real money covering up mechanical elements, boxing them in, painting over them, pretending they don't exist. Industrial design flips that idea completely on its head. Exposed beams, visible pipes, and painted ductwork become intentional design features rather than eyesores to disguise. It's architectural confidence quite literally built right into the ceiling. The fourth element is a tight, earthy color palette. Think charcoal, rust, deep gray, black, and warm natural wood tones running throughout the space. Industrial design deliberately avoids bright, saturated colors, because when the palette stays quiet and restrained, your eye naturally focuses on texture and form instead, which is really where this style draws its true visual power from. The fifth element is furniture, with real, visible history behind it. A reclaimed wood dining table, an old factory cart repurposed as a coffee table, vintage metal lockers used for storage in an entryway. Brand new, flawless furniture simply doesn't belong in this style. Every single piece should feel like it already lived a full life somewhere else before it ever reached your living room. Somewhere else before it ever reached your living room. Now here's the rule that changes everything, the one detail most people completely miss. Always pair something hard with something soft. A single piece should feel like it already lived a full life somewhere else before it ever reached your living room. Now here's the rule that changes everything, the one detail most people completely miss. Always pair something hard with something soft. A concrete floor needs a plush, textured rug underneath it. A steel beam needs a soft linen curtain hanging nearby to balance it. A brick wall needs a velvet cushion resting somewhere close by to soften its edge. hard with something soft. A concrete floor needs a plush, textured rug underneath it. A steel beam needs a soft linen curtain hanging nearby to balance it. A brick wall needs a velvet cushion resting somewhere close by to soften its edge. This one intentional habit is what separates a space that feels cold and unfinished from a space that feels curated, warm, and genuinely luxurious. That feels cold and unfinished from a space that feels curated, warm, and genuinely luxurious. Skip this rule entirely, and no amount of expensive raw material is going to save the room from feeling harsh. Quick pause here before we continue. If industrial design has ever felt too harsh, too cold, or just not quite your taste, I hope you're already starting to see it a little differently. Drop a comment telling me whether you lean more toward full industrial or a softer, cozier style. I read every single one, and it genuinely shapes what I cover in future videos. Let's finish with the final details that push a space from simply good to truly unforgettable. The seventh element is black steel, used as your connecting material throughout the home. Window frames, open shelving units, structural beams, wherever black steel shows up, it creates a strong, clean visual line that ties the entire room together. It becomes the quiet thread running through every corner of a well-designed industrial space, linking rooms that might otherwise feel disconnected. The eighth element is an open floor plan that lets the architecture breathe. Industrial design needs room to move and expand. Chopped up spaces with walls dividing every corner interrupt the story that brick, beams, and exposed ductwork are trying to tell. Open layouts let all of that raw architecture flow together as one continuous visual experience, instead of getting cut off mid-sentence by an unnecessary wall. The ninth element is oversized, factory-style windows that flood the room with natural light. Old factories originally relied on massive multi-pane windows purely out of function. They needed the light to work efficiently. Replicating that same look today instantly signals authenticity. Large panes of glass or steel frame windows flood a space with brightness and gently soften all that raw material without ever taking away from its character. The 10th and final element is lighting that functions as sculptural art rather than just a light source. Exposed bulb fixtures, oversized black metal pendants, caged industrial sconces, these aren't simply there to illuminate a room. In most well-designed industrial spaces, the lighting becomes the single most photographed detail in the entire home, the thing guests notice first and remember longest. So here's what it really comes down to after everything we've walked through today. Industrial design was never about slapping some black metal on a wall and calling it finished. It's about the tension between hard and soft, old and new, raw and refined, all held together through intention rather than guesswork or trend chasing. So now I want to know, could you actually live in a fully industrial space day to day, or would you need it softened? Could you actually live in a fully industrial space day to day, or would you need it softened with something warmer and more textured? Tell me honestly in the comments below. May your answer might genuinely shape what I cover in next week's video. If this changed the way you see industrial design, subscribe now so you don't miss what's coming next. And hit like if you think someone you know, a friend renovating their place, a family member who loves this look. needs to see this too. See you in the next one.